Hi, my name's Ryan, and I'm a longtime member of CIV, and I wanted to take a couple minutes today to talk to you about different ways that I've stayed connected to God and His Word, and how that's helped me in my life. So I grew up in the church, and obviously, being in the church, I've heard a lot about the importance of reading God's Word and spending time daily with God, something we call a quiet time. And I've just built that into my routine over the years. It's been helpful to just wake up early, have that as part of my routine, so much to the point where if I don't do a quiet time now, I feel like my day is kind of off. And that's great, but too often I have to rely on obedience and whatever discipline I have. Also, a lot of the problem that I have with that is I just kind of get task-oriented and I just kind of go through my day as opposed to really digging into the scriptures. So one of the things that I've done recently is instead of just reading one chapter a day, which is kind of my old plan, is I've slowed down my reading. And instead of reading one chapter and kind of powering through, even if I didn't really understand what I was reading, I've taken one small section and read that day after day after day. And it's been really interesting to see the way God's teaching me and speaking to me. Recently, I was reading through Romans 8 and particularly verse 17. And it talked about how if we are children of God, then we're also heirs of God, and which means we're co-heirs with Christ. And that just spoke to me. I was thinking, wow, it was like on the fourth day that I had read this verse. Finally, it spoke to me. So that was a really a powerful verse to me. But again, it didn't come until the fourth day. So I'm a very task-oriented person. And usually, like I said, I just want one verse or one chapter a day, just keep going. But that isn't always the best way for me to learn now. So I realized I need to slow down a little bit and just really focus on what God is trying to teach me. The second thing that I would talk about is really staying connected to God's Word just in the midst of everything going on in our country right now. Since the coronavirus pandemic struck and the uncertainty of our country that we're facing right now, especially now with the election, I've had a lot of angst and tension and anxiety about the way things are going. And so what I've realized is that the Bible happens to have a lot to say about this. It talks a lot about God's people in their time dealing with different struggles and how they dealt with it. And of course, it talks about anxiety and how to deal with your anxiety and the struggles that we all face. And there are a lot of reassuring verses in the Bible. One of the best things I've done in the recent months was just deleting my Twitter app. I was spending a lot of time on Twitter. I deleted the Twitter app, and I've been spending a lot more time in God's Word, and it's been very refreshing, especially with everything going on right now. So the last thing I want to talk about is creating a prayer journal of some sort. I like to use a website called PrayBuzz. Many of you are aware of it. And PrayBuzz is awesome because it allows you to share requests with others, but it also allows you to do personal requests. And so I have a lot of personal prayer requests that I track, and every day I just hit that button and I shows how often I prayed, and I can put comments down there. And over time, I can see God working in my life. And recently, I just hit my 700th prayer on a request that I've had in there for years. I often get real impatient with my daughters. I struggle to not lose my temper. And so several years ago, I posted this prayer request. And as I hit that 700 number, I was like, wow, I've prayed for this 700 times. And I had this moment of reflection, realizing that recently I have not been getting upset with them. I'm not losing my temper. And I like the prayer's working. This is great. And so, again, it's just great to track your prayers and your progress and to see how God is working in our lives. And there's so many different ways that you can do that. Again, you don't have to use an app or a website, but just really recognizing the work that God is doing in your life and keeping track of that is a great way to do that. So I hope this has been a help to you. Thank you so much and have a great night.